Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got another mock draft video to help you guys out with your redraft season. Now, we are in a 12-team full PPR league. We are in the third spot of this 12-team mock draft. Again, I'll be dropping a mock draft for every single spot on a 12-team. And of course, if you guys have other different types of formats, hit me up in the comments down below. I will be getting those out to you this week to get those ready for you guys. Most of you are probably drafting this weekend or the following weekend, so I want to get those out for you as soon as we can. So let's see how this goes. All right, so as you can see here, I'm in the third spot of a 12-team league. Now, typically in a 12-team league, obviously you're going to try to target in the first two rounds. You cannot make a mistake. You've got to get the best possible players. Sometimes that could be where you end up with a zero running back strategy, or you go running back hero, right? You go those type of routes. Don't go after tight ends this early. Don't go after quarterbacks. Maybe if you're a big fan of that, you could possibly get a rushing quarterback like a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or even Jalen Hurts. But for me, the best strategy is getting, again, wide receiver one. You got to get that top tier wide receiver and possibly a top tier running back. Wide receivers are different. They're a lot deeper, so you can possibly go running back. So we'll see how this draft goes. Now, the 101 typically is gone. Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb. Those are typically the three. So here you see CeeDee Lamb going one, and then obviously Christian McCaffrey there. So now with the third here, even though I do believe Breece Hall is going to be a great running back, even Bijan, I have to go wide receiver here, and I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. Just because the amount of points a wide receiver, especially a top tier wide receiver, puts up compared to a running back is such a big deal. Now on the swing, when I go into the second round, then I got to start looking at my running backs. Now, if the best player available is going to be a wide receiver, you could still take a wide receiver here because that leaves you with these spots here where maybe they go a different route. So looking at this roster, you see the first tight end, again, don't want to go that. A lot of running backs went here. That's not surprising. A lot of running backs tend to be on the tail end of the first and obviously going into the second round. So understand in this early aspect, you've got to hit. And Tyreek Hill, I think, can absolutely hit. He's been a premier wide receiver in the last few years, and I don't see that slowing down at all. So looking at this, I got obviously Devon Achane, Ayuk, Jacobs, Pacheco, Olave, who I'm kind of, I like, but I'm not quite high on him. So for me, I'm going to go to the running back. I hate to obviously try to have the same players, especially when you're dealing with the bye weeks, but Achane here is the best running back available in that spot. And then I'm going to go running back again because you got to understand, running backs are such a hard position to fill. Having the running backs early, getting a player like Achane, Pacheco, obviously great values who can be top 15 to top 10 running backs. Now, you could always skip and get a wide receiver in this particular spot and then get a running back later on because there are some really good values at running back later on. But I'm going to go with a sort of double hero running back strategy after I got Tyreek Hill. Now, you see a couple more quarterbacks, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar. A little early. I'm not a big fan of grabbing a player like CJ Stroud before Lamar Jackson. That's kind of shocking because Lamar Jackson's rushing ability is so big, it makes it hard for Stroud to be better than him in fantasy. So that's kind of odd there. Now I've got obviously players like James Cook, Trey McBride, Mixon, Devonta Smith. You got to grab another receiver here, so I'm going to go Devonta Smith here. Grab my wide receiver too. Again, he's one of the best receivers in the game, even though he is a wide receiver too. He does put up a lot of points in fantasy, so I don't mind that player there. I actually like the way this has started. Now I'm going to grab depth pieces. I'm not going to grab my quarterback. I can get a quarterback later on, possibly tight end here. Trey McBride is a great piece to grab. I think I can get more value later on, grabbing players like Evan Ingram, even Freiermuth, who I still like. I think there's a little worry with the Steelers offensive line, but I still think Freiermuth's going to be some value. I'm actually going to end up grabbing Kenneth Walker here and grabbing a third running back to fill out that because, again, he's an RB1 on a Seattle team that I think is actually going to be utilized pretty well. I do know Charbonnet's there. I do have a little bit of concern with Charbonnet there, but I'll take Kenneth Walker and put him on my team there. So looking at this, you're going to, again, see tight ends going. You're going to see some more quarterbacks. So now quarterback is something you do have to consider. I'm going to grab my tight end here in Evan Ingram. So I get my top tier tight end. He's typically top 5 the last couple of years since he's joined Jacksonville. Now I've got to start considering grabbing a quarterback or a wide receiver. I'm going to grab Kyler Murray here. Again, that rushing ability for Kyler Murray may help him become a top 5 quarterback this upcoming season, as long as he is healthy. Having Marvin Harrison Jr. is big. Having Trey McBride is big. I still like Michael Wilson, but Murray's health is definitely going to be a concern. So understand, if you're going to draft Murray, do have a sort of backup plan at quarterback just in case. So backup quarterback is not going to be picked right here. I'm not going to pick a Purdy or anything like that. I'm going to grab my boy Keon Coleman. I've talked him up all off season. I've talked him up in Dynasty, all kinds of different formats. I think Keon Coleman ends up being the wide receiver 1 for Buffalo, especially since Curtis Samuel's dealing with an injury right now. I think Coleman's going to have some strong value there. Now, Christian Watson's something to consider. He's still dealing with some of that soft tissue injuries that he's had. They've obviously found some medical concerns with that. But I'm actually going to grab him. I'm going to grab Brian Thomas Jr. from the previous LSU Tigers. I think he's going to have some strong value for Jacksonville. I'm not expecting him to be a wide receiver 1. I think Christian Kirk is still the wide receiver 1 on that team. But Brian Thomas Jr. is explosive, looks good. He's going to fill in really nicely, taking over that Calvin Ridley role, where he's still going to see plenty of targets his way. I think he could be a top 25 wide receiver, and he's being treated as my 4th receiver. So I don't hate that move at all. I'm going to grab Chase Brown here because I think Chase Brown actually ends up possibly taking over the running back role for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's been talked up heavily. I think this is a great spot to grab him. Again, he's not needing to be my number 1 running back. He's my 4th running back, so I don't mind grabbing him there. He's a nice little sleeper this upcoming season that a lot of people haven't really talked about a lot. Now, kickers and all that stuff, we're going to grab later. I'm not going to grab one there. I'm actually going to grab Jerome Ford because he most likely starts at least 1 to 2 games, if not more, for the Cleveland Browns. I do think he's going to get actually pretty heavily involved. I don't know if Cleveland's going to go straight Nick Chubb when he does get healthier and is able to actually play full games. I think they'd want to keep him healthy throughout the season because I think Cleveland, just like me, I think Cleveland has a chance to possibly go to the Super Bowl with the way this team is built. They're going to need a healthy Nick Chubb later on in the season. So I think Ford actually has some strong value there. Now I've got 2 more players to pick before I have to grab a kicker and defense. So again, this is just death pieces. I am going to grab a quarterback here in Matthew Stafford because I think Matthew Stafford, even though he is also dealing with an injury, if healthy, is a top 15, at least top 10, possibly quarterback going into this season. I still like the weapons he's got in Kupp and Nakua, and I still like the running backs they have in Corum and Kyron Williams. So Stafford, again, as my backup, strong value there. Grab one more depth piece. I'm not going to grab kicker, even though you see some of these kickers are already taken. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to go there. I'm actually going to grab Rico Dowdle. Dowdle has a chance to have the RB1 status. I don't think Dallas does. I think Dallas will end up using him as a change of pace, just like they did with Pollard, even though obviously Pollard was a lot more explosive than Dowdle, but I think Dowdle still has some value, and especially if, say, Ezekiel gets hurt, Dowdle becomes RB1, so really strong value. I'm grabbing my kicker here. Again, always try to focus on getting a kicker for a team that's going to be able to get down the field and score, get down the field to possibly get in field goal range. Again, high scoring. Now, because most of the kickers were taken, I'm not left with a lot, so I'm going to end up grabbing Daniel Carlson from the Raiders. They have a possible chance. Obviously, Minshew's been, announced as the quarterback 1, so we'll see how things play out, but Carlson's going to be my kicker there just because that's really the best value. Now, defensively, I'm going to grab Cleveland because I think Cleveland's going to be one of the better defenses they have been the last few years, and I think they will continue that going into the 2024 season. So I like the Cleveland Browns in that particular spot. So as you can see, that is my 3rd spot on this 12-team mock draft. So again, let me know in the comments how you felt that draft went. Did you think it was a good one? Did you think I reached? Maybe I didn't grab the players that you would have. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys, again, have different types of formats. I'd love to put those out for you guys before the season starts. Hit that like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well. Stay tuned for all the content we're going to be pushing out all season because it's almost here, and I'll check you guys out next time.